I've done some amazing things. And you know what, recently, we've had the opportunity to go through all that footage for all the things, all the adventures I've done over the years, and reflect back on it on some of the best things I've ever done. And I tell you what, one of the best adventures has to be is going to Fraser Island. It was an adventure like no other. Now, it was back in the old days when I was doing big fish, small boats. And I tell you what, since then, I've upgraded boats, I've upgraded engines, I've done a lot of upgrading, but there is no denying that catching those little blacks on the flats in a metre or two of water like this was nothing short of phenomenal. But you know the amazing part, and this never went to air, is we never planned to do that. Our plan was to go to Fraser, fish out wide, chasing blue marlin, look for swordfish. But of course, like always, you're filming, the weather was atrocious, and we ended up fishing on the flats in the sheltered area and ended up catching these marlin. And I tell you what, for someone who spends all their time way out at sea chasing big fish, to go and catch a marlin in a metre or 2 metres of water was nothing short of phenomenal. But the whole thing, the whole trip, it's just a logistical nightmare. So first we had to drive from Sydney. So Rush and I ran all the way up from Sydney, towed the boat up. The crew came in, but the crew were flying in a day later. So then we had to get all the gear, everything out to Fraser. We had to book up our campsites because you can't camp in some spots, like it's quite restrictive. So we had to do that, get everything there. The other guys, so Sean Whale and the boys, we all got up, he got his boat, our boat. My mate Danny from Hookham came up, he brought a car up, like this was the boys' trip. We brought up everything. You know, the logistics are so hard. We had to fill the deck of the boat with fuel because we're mainly planning to fish offshore. You know, and then all your food and everything, and like it all adds to the adventure. Because we went up, it was dead flat. We got round Rooney's Point, which is right up near the corner there. As soon as we came around near where we're meant to be camping, the weather just like, oh, it was horrendous, you know. And these are the things you got to deal with. You're anchoring your boats. You've got to sit in the water obviously at night because you're camping, and double anchoring boats and all these things. But you know what? You're not here to listen to all those bits. You're here to hear about all the fishing. It was a real education for us. So now, marlin fishing for me is all about live baits. On lures, unless it's a blue marlin, it's bloody hard. Striped marlin fall off, black marlin are really doughy and don't want to eat them. Not at Fraser. We got to Fraser and I had all these little skip baits ready to go. You know, I had all these little garfish all rigged and ready. We get up there, we've come around the corner, it's too rough to get up the campsite. So Rush and I go, oh, let's just have a quick fish. And this is in along those flats all the way down to Wathumba Creek and all that. We're driving along and Rush is like, oh, there's one, look up, there's a marlin. We thought it was a tuna, I'll be honest, up in the flats, like up in a metre of water, just cruising along. And wasn't one, there was another one, there's another one. They were everywhere. So we put a couple of lures out, we hadn't even got the spread out and we're on. Like, this is amazing, and they're on lures. I was planning to switch everything onto liveys, or dead baits I should say, dead baits, there was no liveys for us. We didn't ever had to do it. All we did was put lures out and troll around. But to be able to catch it like this far from shore is just, for all blue water fishermen, there's no blue water. You're all in this right on the shallows. And the one thing that's really amazing that I find sort of, well, it's the big question is, why are those fish up in those shallows? Why are they there more than anywhere else? So if you go and fish Harvey Bay, you don't catch them. But if you go up into a couple of metres of water up in the shallows, they're there. So it really, and I'm amazed we haven't had more science or more research done to work out why these fish go in the shallows. Because when we initially did it, I had all these great photos, because I went to jump in a couple of times, you know, go over the side to jump in. And I mean, I don't even have to put my fins on, it's so shallow. Like, I literally just get over and walk over the fish. And of course you get, you know, all the trolls going, oh, you towed the fish into the shallows. Well, let me tell you, we didn't troll any fish in the shallows. We ran aground fighting fish. At one stage we had a fish almost on the beach and the other one going along the beach. Like, it's bizarre fishing. You don't catch them out at sea, you catch them all right on the beach. It just absolutely mind boggles. The black marlin is one of 4 species of marlin. But what makes them unique, apart from the fact they're blue marlin, black marlin, they're arguably the biggest, is that their pectoral fins are fixed. Black marlin are found across the Indo-Pacific. Now, we know they spawn up the top end of Cairns, up on the Great Barrier Reef. And they also spawn in the Indian Ocean off Exmouth, although that's well offshore. It's these grounds on the east coast of Australia, they're probably the most famous in the world. And it's these fish, or the offspring of these fish, that come all the way down to Fraser Island. Now, black marlin are fast growing. So a 15 kilo fish is less than, or just on a year old. A 50 kilo fish is less than 3 years of age. So what's really interesting is that the fish coming down that we're encountering off Fraser Island up on these flats are generally only 1 year olds. There's the odd fish that's bigger. Basically the year before were procreated, were born, appeared up at the top end of the Coral Sea there, up off Cairns on the ribbon reefs, and then have followed the East Australian current down. Now we know that all black marlin do that, they all migrate down, but why do they go on the inside of Fraser Island? Why not go down the outside? What makes them come inside and stay up in the shallows? They're not out in the deeper water, they're up in the shallows. And it's stuff like this that's absolutely fascinating and really, I don't know, gets me going, to be honest with you. It's like, why don't we get some research? Let's learn about these fish and why they do it. And in the meantime, let's catch a couple. Put a couple of lures out and we're on straight away. Now we never do that down here in New South Wales when we're fishing for blacks. You rarely catch them on lures and stay attached, they all fall off. But up here at Fraser, they were literally driving along, yep, there's one, yep, there's one. We'd literally not stop until we had a couple on because one would always fall off. They're that aggressive. But initially when we started trolling, we're out over the edge on the drop off. And one of the other boats, one of my mates, Jamie Erbury, was sitting right up in the shallow. He goes, no, come in here a bit. I'm like, don't catch marlin in there. Well, I was wrong. You catch a lot of marlin in there. And we would catch them in up the shallows. The problem you have with catching them on lures is that all billfish have really hard mouths, is to stay attached. So initially we're fishing, 4,000 size little Shimano's. The problem was with the softer rods, you can't get the hooks in, so they jump off in about 2 minutes. So we went down to shorter, stiffer rods to load up and get the hooks in, and I tell you what, it was game on after that. You're hooking up, and the great thing with little blacks is they spend as much time in the water as they do in the air. No, other way around, they spend more time in the air than in the water. They're jumping around, you grab on the leader, they're leaping, they jump around. The poor old cameraman, poor old Dane's like this gun, doesn't know where to film. And it made for such a great episode because at the time, we had no idea that that's what we were going to do. These weren't blue marlin, and we weren't really prepared for it. I had a couple of 80 bent butts there ready to go to catch big fish, and we ended up using our bait rods to catch marlin. How amazing is that for a trip? Like, can it get any better than that? Now, we caught a lot of marlin on lures, and it was probably, well, it's easily the best black marlin fishing I've ever had with lures. And insane, I think one day we got 16 fish, just trolling up and down the beach. Absolutely amazing. And I tell you what, for the guys that want to go and catch them on fly, that is the place to do it because they're so aggressive, you literally don't have to tease them. You see them swim along, cast in front, and they come in like a bull at a gate. They're absolutely fired up. So now, back when we did this episode, stick baiting was still, well, let's say, it wasn't trendy as it is now. And the guys at Halco had given us one of their new little lures, and you know what, I can't even remember the name of it. It wasn't even a proper stick bait, it was a little slick bait, I think it was. Slick bait? No. I'll put the name below anyway. And we're going along and Rush is like, oh, there's one. Gets it, casts out and hooks up. Now it's the first time this lure, it was still in the testing stage. Oh, Mahi just gets excited for this. Look at this. All you want to do is go to the beach, don't you? You're not allowed on the beach, National Park. Bad luck. And so we're still in the testing stage. He's cast out and this little black has just gone bang and eaten it. Like, how can you get a better way to top off a trip? Not only are we catching all these black marlin one after the other, insane footage, but on top of that, we're catching the first ever one for Halco on a stick bait. We weren't experts then, we're not experts now, but I tell you what, it just added to it. And for me, one of the funniest parts is that I love my underwater, right? So I'd get ready to go, that's it, gonna jump into the underwater, got my big fins on, everything, go to the edge, look over the edge, I'm in a metre of water. Have to go and actually take the fins off and walk over the fish. In all my life, I never imagined I would ever be marlin fishing in a metre of water.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready when you are.
Ready, I'm going to go out. Keep down. There we go, swim the other one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.